Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining us today for our next webinar in our MFG Day series. Today, we're focusing on planning your MFG Day events. I know we still have a few folks joining in from the waiting room, but while we are waiting for them, I just want to get a little sense of who we have with us today. If you take a look, you should see a poll launch here in just a moment. Just wondering how many of you were able to attend the first webinar that we did back on April 4th, I believe. And if you weren't able to attend it live, were you able to watch the recording? And I see several folks were not able to attend or view the recording. And so the great news is some of the stuff that we're going to talk about today is a little bit of a review. So bear with me, those of you who did attend, but want to be sure that everyone is up to date on all things MFG, especially why we do MFG Day each year. So thank you as you continue to complete that poll for those who are still joining us. So as I mentioned, today we're focusing on event planning and some important things to keep in mind as you work towards that. I do just want to let everybody know in advance that we are recording this session. It will be sent out in a follow-up email early next week with some other key items from the event, but also you can always find all of the past webinar recordings at mfgday.com under the resources tab, and there's a specific section there for MFG Day webinars. Not only can you find the recordings, you can also find the registration link and the dates for upcoming webinars as well. So today we're going to talk about how do you identify your primary audience? How do you determine what type of event you want to host? What is some important content to include in really whatever kind of event that you do. It's key to have a team to help you plan and produce your event as well. So we'll talk through who are some important people that you might want to consider adding to your team. We're going to talk about registering your event as well as your support for MFG Day. We'll talk about a few of the resources that are available from the MI, and then we'll have time for open Q&A at the end as well. In addition, I do want to let you know this is a 4-part series webinar. So today is part 2. On May 30th, we'll have the third event. That's going to focus on best practices, making the most of your event. And then on June 27th, I believe, we'll be getting the word out. So that event focuses on marketing, outreach, different things of that nature, as well as some messaging to make sure you're hosting an inclusive event. All right, so 68% of folks are new today. Thank you for joining us. All right. So let's just talk about MFG Day at a high level here real quick. The mission of MFG Day is really to get students of all ages excited. We want to excite them about what modern manufacturing looks like, what opportunities are available for them in the industry, and ultimately our goal is to get them to explore and pursue careers in manufacturing. What that's going to lead to then is us as manufacturing as a whole having a pipeline of young and energized talent that's ready to face the challenges that we know are coming for us and as an industry in the future. We don't want this to be a short-term solution. We want this to really create a very sustainable, robust pipeline of talent. And so ultimately the vision then is that we have exciting interactive events happening in communities across the country. You'll see that we do have the ability to look and see where all these different events are with your help. But we want to see, again, communities across the country participating. Manufacturers lead the way on this, but we can't do it without the support of our education partners, of our workforce and economic development partners, MEPs. It really takes the entire manufacturing ecosystem to make MFG Day a success. And I know we have folks on today from a lot of those different areas in the ecosystem. So again, thank you all for kind of committing to be a part of this and wanting to really help shape the future manufacturing workforce. So MFG Day is really our manufacturing's biggest annual opportunity to inspire the next generation. This is where we all come together. We work towards this common goal. Sometimes we do it individually with an event at our own site. Sometimes it's all of the different manufacturers or partners within a community that host one large event within their community for different age groups or whatever it might be. We're working to positively shift perceptions that continues to be an issue with building the future workforce. We currently have not just a skills gap, but an applicant gap as well. And we talk about that in the new talent study that the MI just released earlier I guess last month now in April, in partnership with Deloitte. So if you'd like to read more about that, you can find that on the Manufacturing Institute's website. But we're trying to increase nationwide awareness. Our target audience is typically students, but we know that we also have to use all those folks who are helping them decide what they're going to do in their future to help guide them into understanding the industry and how their interests and aptitudes align with careers in manufacturing. So some key things to keep in mind. We want to showcase diverse career opportunities in the industry. We want every student to see that there's a place for them, whether they are interested in production, the trades, maybe they're interested in art and marketing and design or technology, cybersecurity, all those different things. We want them to see that there's a place for them here and that we value them. We want them to see what's happening in their own backyard. They drive by these facilities all the time. They may even see a name from the road, but they often have no idea what's happening inside. And this is our chance to show them that as well. We want to demonstrate that manufacturing is cool, high-tech, sustainable, safe. It is essential and it is everywhere. And that's, again, part of getting every community across the US involved in this. We want them to know that manufacturing careers are high paying. They offer professional growth and the ability, and this is very important to this, to Gen Z as well as Gen Alpha, who are those kiddos who are kind of in the middle school age group right now. But that they have the ability that manufacturers impact the world around us as well. Again, that there's a place for everyone in manufacturing, and ultimately MFG Day empowers manufacturers to come together. We're addressing these collective challenges that we're all faced with, and ultimately we're going to help our communities and future generations thrive. So some key reminders just about MFG Day 2024 in general. MFGday.com is the digital hub where you can find a variety of resources. You can find marketing materials, branding items, things of that nature. You're going to need to identify and activate your planning committee sooner than later if you haven't already done that. The hashtags that we're going to use this year are MFG Day 24 and Creators Wanted. So anytime you're posting about manufacturing careers, the things that might be available in your company or in your community, trying to get more awareness around our careers in our industry, use those hashtags. You don't have to wait just until MFG Day to use them. Those can be used year round. We do have the MFG Day style guide available, and in the follow-up email, you're going to get a copy of these slides with all these links in them next week. So I know that we've got some team that are dropping some things into the chat today, but you'll get these sent to you as well. So make sure that you check out the style guide. Make sure that you update your materials with the latest MFG Day logo, which is the one that you see here on the screen. We began using this one, I think, back in 2020. I know there's some old ones still floating around out there, but we do encourage everyone to update to this one. We're going to talk about registering your events here in just a moment, but if you have any questions, concerns, you need assistance with anything, please use our email address right here, mfgday@nam.org. And so this year we're going to celebrate MFG Day on October 4th. That's a Friday. We celebrate it the first Friday in October each year. However, events can happen at any time to be considered an MFG Day event. If we're working on educating and building awareness and positively shifting perceptions among students and teachers and parents. So we've made some changes to registration this year. So if you are new to MFG Day, this may not impact you much. If you've been doing MFG Day and have registered events in the past, it's going to look a little different to you, but it is a much more simplified and efficient process. So we hope that you'll find it as a good change. But what I would love for everybody to do right now, my good friend Alex is going to drop the link in the chat for you. I would love for you to take a second and go out to the registration link. What you're going to find, everybody needs to do this right now. Okay. Even if you don't have an event planned right now, because what we're doing is we're also tracking MFG Day support this year. So we want to be able to mark you all as supporters of MFG Day and supporters of building the workforce of the future. So if you go there, you can fill out the top of the form. Then if you have events that you would like to add, you can add up to 5 events in the same form. You can mark that you want to add your event at the bottom. Some new fields will pop up and you can fill those in as well. Okay, so I encourage you all to register right now, just as supporters of MFG Day. If you have event information you want to go ahead and post, go for it. What you're going to find too is if you have registered in the past, you used to have your own username and password to log in, a whole lot of fields. Then you had to wait a couple days often for us to go in and approve your events. That's all gone. This is all in real time. So we are excited to be seeing these events flow in as you enter them, and you'll start to be able to see them as well. We do still have the national map on the website that you can go and you can see where different events are happening. It is looking a little bit different right now. We're still perfecting some things, so bear with us, but exciting changes coming. So keep an eye on that, and we'll talk more about that in the future. I see in the chat that somebody asked, can we post questions here? Yes, absolutely. When we get to the end, I'll try to go back through the chat and answer those, and then the team may be trying to answer in real time if they're easily addressable. But why should you register your events? First off, you're showcasing your commitment, right? Again, this is a team effort, an industry-wide effort, and we want to show how many people are committed to that. We are going to raise nationwide awareness of manufacturing opportunities. You're also, by registering your event, highlighting the opportunities specifically in your organization as well. It does demonstrate the strength of our community working together. It can help elevate your presence and your brand. We use this map to identify events that are happening as well, and we share that out with community leaders, government officials. You can use it to highlight it among your community as well. What I love to see is hotspots that will pop up on the map where you see so much activity happening within a single community. So it's a great visual to be able to show how active people are for MFG Day as well. Again, you don't necessarily have to be hosting an event to register here. You can just register yourself as an MFG Day supporter, and you'll be marked that way as well. And then something else that we get asked frequently, there is absolutely no cost to participate in this. There's no cost associated with being an MFG Day host outside of whatever the costs are for you to organize your own event. There is no cost to be registered on this page or to be counted as an MFG Day supporter. So please know, 100% free. It's open to everyone, regardless of whether you're a manufacturer, an education partner, an MEP. Everyone is able to do this. All right, so looking at just some kind of a sample timeline as you're thinking about your planning process. It's time to get started now if you haven't done so already. However, don't feel pressured like you're behind the wheel. We've got some companies, and this depends on the type and the size of event too. Some companies are able to organize an event in a very short time frame, especially if it's going to be a smaller group and a smaller event that they're bringing in. But typically we recommend doing an internal kickoff, figuring out what your goals are, identifying your key roles, and developing your planning timeline in the April to May timeframe. So that's where we are right now. Over the next couple of months, then you're going to work on determining your audience. Excuse me, I got a fly bugging me. Start your outreach to schools. And this is important. We don't want to wait until the fall to reach out to schools. They've got a lot going at that time. They're getting kids started back into school, working with scheduling changes, all those different things. They're planning their field trips for next year already. So it doesn't mean that you have to have all the details yet, but you do want to be reaching out to schools if that's who you're hoping to work through to bring students in for your event. Then kind of through August, you're going to be finalizing all of your logistics, your location, making sure that's secured. If you're using your own facility, kind of thinking through, how are we going to move people through this, marking all those safety concerns, things of that nature, as well as developing activities. Remember, we want these events to be very interactive, hands-on, letting kids touch things or do, experiments or little building things, whatever it might be. They're going to take more away from the event, and it's going to be more memorable to them if they're touching it, right? If they're doing something themselves versus just listening to somebody talk and tell them a bunch of stuff for an hour or whatever it might be. Think about what kind of data do you want to collect? Do you want to do a pre and or a post event survey to get feedback from your participants, maybe feedback from your staff or whoever's helping run the event for you? There's different perspectives there. And what is your call to action going to be for them? What do you really want them to take away and go and do after they walk away from your event? In August, think about marketing, right? Plan out your social media strategy, your PR, your marketing collateral, send out a save the date flyer to the schools or whoever your target audience is. And then think about who are the public stakeholders that you may want to include as well. September, we're finalizing things. And some of you may be hosting events in September too. So you adjust this however it works for you. This is just a sample. But that's when you're making all those final adjustments, finalizing your materials, any signage, things that you might need, and reviewing the roles of whoever's going to be helping support the participants who are coming in. And in October, it's go time. Maybe it's on October 4th, maybe it's on October 20th. It does not matter. You host your event when it works for you and when it works for your target audience. Okay, so it can be at September, it can be in October. Some companies will run events into November, and then we have some who do them in the spring. Again, as long as you're working to influence and make a strong impact on kids and educate them about manufacturing careers, it's an MFG Day event. So some key considerations when you're planning your event. These are things that you really need to think through before you can start here's what it's really going to look like. What are your goals? What do you want to accomplish through MFG Day 2024? What is your budget that you're working with? Some events are very elaborate and probably cost a bit more money, but they don't have to. The other thing I want you to think about, especially if you're new to MFG Day, is start somewhere, right? It doesn't have to be a 200-person event that's lasting for 5 hours or whatever it might be. It could be a very small group of, maybe 10 people that you bring in and you show them manufacturing for the first time. That is still incredibly impactful. So again, and there's no one size fits all for manufacturing day events either. They're going to all look different. but you make it work for, again, you, your company or your organization, and your target audience. If you've hosted MFG Day events in the past, were they successful? What are the things that you think could be adjusted to make them even more impactful, or what worked great that we want to make sure that we highlight again? What are the facilities and technologies that best highlight the future of your work? Okay, now a lot of folks are going to focus on high school students. Many focus on juniors and seniors because we know that we need to hire people quickly and they're going to be available more quickly than others. However, it's just as important to show manufacturing careers to younger kids as well, because we need to build that pipeline. If we're really going to make it sustainable, we've got to start earlier. Now, those events are going to look very different for those age groups as well. But as you think about what are the careers that are going to be most important for you in the next 10 years, we need to think ahead as we're talking to younger students. Think of middle schoolers. If they're going straight into the workforce and they're in 7th grade right now, we're already 5 years ahead, essentially. And what are things going to look like then? So highlighting the facilities and technologies for the future, as well as the processes and careers that you want to showcase that are going to speak the most to the audience that you bring in. How do your audience and your event fit together? Again, it's going to look different depending on who they are. And then when are you going to host your event? Completely up to you. So then how do you identify your primary audience? Again, what are your future needs for your workforce going to be? What are the roles that you're going to need to fill the most? And that may help you determine who you want to do the outreach to. What is your aspirational workforce representation? We want to kind of do outreach to those who are going to help us fill that, not being exclusive of others though as well. But as we're thinking about the representation of our community as well, we often want our workforce to be representative of our community. And while you're building that and you're thinking through, who am I going to use in my company or in my organization to help highlight manufacturing, we want them to be relatable to the audience that you're bringing in as well. So really thinking through diversity as you're working through all of this. What is your event capacity? Is it 200? Is it 10? Right? You get to determine that. It might be based on the location, how many people you can actually have. It might be based on the size of your facility, or the size of your workforce, or the volunteers that you have available to help run the event as well. There's a lot of components that go into that. Can you reach multiple audiences with multiple events? We have a lot of companies who do this. They'll focus on an entire week and they'll have different groups coming in throughout that week or even throughout the month. Oops, sorry. So that could be an opportunity for you to reach more people if you have the capacity to do that. Definitely not required. And how are you going to reach your audience? So how are you going to do the outreach to the schools? If you're going to make it open to the public, like an open house or a community style event, how are we marketing? What are the channels that we're using to do that? And then think through, do you want elementary students? I know it sounds a little crazy sometimes. We have a lot of companies who do. I know we have Gen Met who brings 2nd graders into their facility each year. And it's incredible to look at these little kids and the things that they're doing and the connections that they're making with measurements and things that they're learning in 2nd grade that are also important to manufacturing. But middle schoolers, high schoolers, do you want to focus on recent graduates? You can truly choose the audience that you want to, but I do encourage you to be sure that we're working to inspire students, younger generations as well. And then the other thing is, are you going to do the outreach through the schools? Do you want to look at some student organizations or after school or out of school organizations? And somebody sent me an email yesterday just to mention, we have Skills USA, we have FBLA. These are different student-led organizations where students are already looking at their future careers. They're already kind of invested in what they're going to do in the as they move forward out of high school, but they may not be narrowed in yet on the actual career. So they're thinking beyond high school, but they're still very much learning about what's out there. And this is a great time to catch them. If you are interested in learning about some of those student organizations that exist out there, happy to field those in emails as well. And then different types of events. Again, not one size fits all. MFG Day really started with plant tours, bringing kids into facilities so they could see firsthand. We also know that that's not always possible based on safety or age and whatever that may be. So there are so many other options. This is a list just of some examples, but use your imagination. If you can think it and make it happen, by all means, go for it. And it's an MFG Day event. We highly encourage in-person. However, sometimes there is a need for more virtual events. So those can be included as MFG Day events as well. Important content. Again, do you want to do an entry and an exit survey so that you can measure the impact of your event? Make sure you include some type of welcome message, typically from senior leadership. Doesn't necessarily have to be, though. Who do you want to be the first person that your audience sees when they come in? Talk to them. What is the importance of MFG Day? Why are they even there? They need to understand that so that they can really invest and use their time wisely, if you will. Give them an overview of what your company or organization does in simple terms that they can understand based on who the audience is. The technology and equipment that may excite them. Is it virtual reality? Is it robots? Is it even just, handheld tools and things that kids may not actually get to use or experience as often as maybe we did when we were younger? A tour of your facility is wonderful, again, because they've probably never seen anything like it. If you can't do an in-person tour, take some video that you are able to take. And then you can show them that video as well. Include some employee interviews or panels, but again, make sure the folks that they're encountering are relatable to them. This is a great opportunity to highlight your younger employees. And not only are you highlighting them, it could potentially be a retention tool. Now they're feeling like the company is invested in them, that the company trusts them to speak to the next generation as well. And then they too get reminded of what is so cool and exciting about their job. And then it, kind of gives them that sense of good as well. Give kids the opportunity to ask questions, to engage with different types of employees at the company as well. And then kids love free giveaways, right? But make it something that's going to be useful to them as well. We do have a lot of folks who like to have t-shirts made. Again, the logos are open for you to use. If you, everything online is like PNGs, but if you need like vector files to have shirts or different materials made, email, again, mfgday@nam.org, and we can send those out to you as well. So building your event team, key partners, things to include. What roles do you need to fill? First off, is your event going to be internal only? Will you be partnering with other organizations or companies? If so, you want to make sure that somebody from each of the partnering organizations are going to be represented on your planning committee as well. Include employees that your audience will identify with. Include employees from different career fields with different perspectives. So it's great to bring in your engineers, but bring in folks outside of your engineers as well, right? Or different pathways, somebody who went through an apprenticeship program, maybe somebody who did go through a 4-year degree program, somebody who came in directly out of high school and has just worked their way up from an entry-level position, that they can kind of just tell their story. But we want, again, all kids to see that I can do this. There is a place for me, regardless of what my future career track may look like. Do you have relationships already in place? If you've already got partnerships with schools or other community organizations, that makes it a little bit easier, but we build those relationships for a reason. And if you're just starting, it starts this year, and you will build that relationship over time, but incorporate those folks into your planning as well. And then I always encourage you to include an educator or somebody who works with kids regularly, especially at the age of your target audience, so that they can give you some insights into how best engage the students. What are the messaging to use? What are these kids really looking for? I tell you, who's got some real interesting perspective these days is middle school teachers. Just watch TikTok if you need some examples. All right, so resources that are available to you, again, these are on mfgday.com. There's a resources tab there. All the webinar recordings, the host toolkit, the marketing toolkit, those are there already. The action partner toolkit is coming very soon. And that is essentially a way that you can help spread the message of MFG Day. We've got some like pre-formatted social posts and different things. And some ideas to keep in mind of what type of messaging you can share. So look for that. Anyone can post on social media about MFG Day. It might just be your employers telling their own story on their social media channels, but encourage them to use that hashtag MFG Day 24 and hashtag Creators Wanted. We'll be posting some templates that you can use for school invitations or outreach to community leaders, as well as I'm coming back to that. There'll be more templates posted. And then we do have the merch store. If you want to buy yourself a nice MFG Day branded polo shirt or something of that nature, you're welcome to link to the merch store. That's under the resources page as well. So just as a reminder, all those things on the resources. You can also find future webinars under the recordings and the registration link for future webinars under MFG Day resources. But all MFG Day webinars are also on the Manufacturing Institute events page. We do have sponsorships available if you're interested in sponsoring National MFG Day efforts. That is how we are able to continue to bring all of this stuff to the greater community for free. If you're interested in something like that, please just email us and let us know. MFG Day is an initiative of the Manufacturing Institute. We are a 501c3 nonprofit focused on workforce development and education for manufacturers across the country. So just a note there about that. And so at this point, if you do have questions, you'd like to speak one-on-one, run some ideas by me, or kind of get a little bit of feedback if you have some things already planned. I do offer MFG Day office hours on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. You can find the link to that on the MFG or on under the resources page with the webinars. It'll also be linked in these slides when you get them. You can just go in and select a little time window, and it's just us. It's not a group of people. And then, as I mentioned, those upcoming webinars on May 30th and June 27th, encourage you to continue to attend. If you know you can't attend it live, still register, because you're going to get that follow-up email with the recording as well. So that wraps up our presentation for today. I see several things in the chat that we'll work through here, but if you have questions you would like to unmute, you are welcome to. And I'm also going to share a couple more poll questions because I want to get a little bit of your input as well. So let's see. One of the things that I have done in the past that I'd really like to get your input on is in future webinars, if you were interested in like breakout rooms that have specific topics where us as a community can just share our learnings, or you can ask questions specific to those topics. I encourage you, I just launched the poll that you can type in what those specific topics might be that you would be interested in attending. And while you work on that, I'm going to scroll through these questions here. So Sarah asked, they're going to have multiple facilities that are hosting events or events potentially at 2 different locations. When you are registering those events, you can do them in the same form, but do them as 2 separate events so that both locations will show on the map. And then ultimately we're tracking those as 2 separate events because you've got 2 different groups involved in it. Some great information coming in from other hosts as well. Thank you for everyone who shares. And you know, this is one of those things I say, like, well, the MI leads MFG Day from the national efforts. It's really the magic happening out in your local communities because you're the ones that are engaging the kids or parents or teachers in your community, gauging, you know, your media markets and things, really spreading the word locally. I think we've gotten through most of the questions. Does anybody else have any questions? You're welcome to unmute and ask if you'd like.
On the map that you have, like, do you have the listings? I haven't been able to scoot over and look, but I want to make sure we're not stepping on the toes of other people, like having an event at the same time in our region. So like, is there a good way to like communicate what you're planning? We don't want to like steal anybody else's thunder. We want to be able to work together.
Yeah, good question. So my recommendation, first off, you're welcome to use the map and see if you can find other things in your community. You also can go back and filter for past years to see if there's other companies who've hosted MFG Day events in your community. But I would say outside of that, I would encourage you to probably work with like a local chamber of commerce or economic development group, workforce boards, somebody who's working with the majority of manufacturers in the community in one way, shape, or another, and maybe encourage them to open that dialogue for the community where other companies can say, you know, yes, we're planning to do this at this time. And then 2, you're going to help spread awareness as well of companies who've never even heard of MFG Day. And we do have a lot of organizations that will do community style events so that all of the manufacturers can come together in one place and it's not competing for, you know, the same school to get kids out to all these places in different days, because that's hard for the schools, right? So those community style events are typically really successful, really efficient in most circumstances. And I can tell you on the next webinar, we're actually going to have a couple organizations talking about how they do community style events. So that may be useful for you as well, but I hope that helps. Oh yeah, and Pooja mentioned too, local or regional manufacturing associations. A lot of MEPs will organize or industry sector partnerships, whichever. They will kind of organize MFG Day from a community standpoint or a regional standpoint. Yes, all of the times that are in the slides are Eastern time. And I have one last poll question for you if you would like to answer. Aside from what we've talked about already, are there other specific resources or templates that you would like to have made available that might help your, whether it's your planning, whether it's something that's just going to say, this makes it a little bit easier for me to commit to hosting MFG Day events or being involved in MFG Day as well. Again, you all are the drivers of this. The MI tries to support you in whatever ways that we can, but it's useful to have your insights as well. Any other questions? All right, well, if not, I appreciate you all being here so much, and I'm going to give you some time back in your day because I know we all need that. So thanks everybody for taking the time to join today. And I look forward to seeing all the registered supporters that we have, as well as those who may have registered your events today as well, and keep those coming. Check back there frequently. You can always come and add more events as well, and share the opportunity to register as a supporter across your communities and your organizations as well. All right, thanks everyone. Have a great day.
Thank you.